There we go. All right, there we are. So this is the first meeting of 2021. Welcome, everybody. So the question for the day, the one that you loathe, and because it's kind of simple, I did not include it in the things. I know that gives you guys stress. Can you give us a word or a sentence to describe your first week so far in 2021? And I will start. I will say that my first week has been optimistic. I'm going to call on Tom next.
I'm going to pull this one because there's only so much time I get to actually pull these kind of things. But my word for the week is Otto.
Oh, did you have a grandchild?
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, that's right.
Born at
Congrats.
2 a.m. on January 2nd.
Oh,
Sweet.
I'm happy for you.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Is this your first?
Second. Oh, I should show you that picture again. This is this is Penny, his sister. Oh, let's see if I can. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna expose my reality here.
Please do.
Get rid of the background.
Be careful with that word exposed, Tom.
Yeah, really.
Please be very careful.
All right, there. This is his sister, who's 9.
Oh,
Aw.
beautiful.
And Otto in bed. There was a home birth, and she actually got to feel his head as he was crowning.
Oh, wow.
Gosh,
So, I mean, I'm like, when my sister was born, I wasn't even allowed in the house for a week, and so the idea that, I think this is awesome.
Where did they?
So, yeah, pretty cool.
That's going to be something to hold over her for the rest of her life.
No kidding.
Because of me, you're here. Who are you calling on, Tom?
I'm calling Fiona.
Hi everyone. My first week has been grateful. I've been feeling grateful. I'm so glad the holidays are over. Get back to the new normal.
This is only the 12th day of Christmas. They are only just over.
Yeah, it's true. We still have our Christmas tree up.
And now it's time for Mardi Gras.
It's always some holiday.
And who are you calling on, Fiona?
I'll call on George.
Hello, good to see everyone. And my word for the year is joy. So I just want to experience and be joyful. And in your presence, I am always joyful. Tatiana.
Oh, thank you. It's our word. Sorry, I was looking at everybody and I didn't read the question and I came late and I'm sorry.
That's okay. Welcome. A word or a sentence to describe how your first week of the new year is going.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. It's lovely to see you all. My big news, my sad news, my father passed away last month, and three of my mom's first cousins who were like her siblings. So it's like 4 people in a month. It was, my last quarter was out of control. So but I felt you there, and I would come on Sundays, and sorry, this is longer. If there was that, we sing, leaning on everlasting arms. I leaned on you guys, even if you didn't know I was doing that, from either the music or just from our interactions, or from what meetings I could get myself to when I cry when it's dark. So I'm probably good for like a little while longer. It's lovely to be here. And I appreciate the flexibility of Glide, where you can, I feel like people believe the best of your intentions. That's how I felt anyway. So thank you.
Great. And who's next? Fiona. I mean, not Fiona, but Tatiana.
You know what? I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Elizabeth. Great.
And Tatiana, I'm so sorry about all of that. That's been going on for you.
Thanks.
My word for this week is hopeful.
Thank you.
And Linda, have you gone?
Thanks. Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, a little known piece of trivia is that my middle name is Hope. And so I am sharing your word, Elizabeth, and very honored to share it with you, hopeful. And Tatiana, my heart is with you, sweetie. That's tough stuff.
And then Linda, who are you passing off to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Susanna.
Hear me okay?
Yes. Okay. I'm having a good week. I'm happy. I'm back to tutoring, started back today and had my Glide kids on Sunday. So getting filled up with kid stuff. So I'm good. I'm good. And just got actually off a Zoom call with my 2-year-old granddaughter, which is always very entertaining. They just had a baby also. So right with you, Tom. They just had one in November. So it's wonderful. Yep.
All right.
Did we call on everybody? I don't know. Oh, Winnie.
Winnie, did George go?
Mhm.
Okay, Winnie.
Steady. I'm feeling pretty steady. So grateful for that.
Excellent day. I think we got everybody, right?
Mhm.
We're going in with some good stuff then. That's good. So then next is our agreements. And I think most everybody is a veteran here, but you can just read through and pick one that resonates for you, that you feel like you're going to need to work on the most for today. And just really focus on that and center yourself. All right. Does anybody need more time? All right. So our focus for 2021, these are the things that the racial justice group has brainstormed and come up with as far as what we want to put our work into this year and pour ourselves into. Black trans lives, Black women, food insecurity with emphasis on children, reparations, voter suppression, and police reform. So we've been doing some strategic planning around what are some of the actions that we could actually do this year, and going through an exercise around that work. So as a result, part of that was thinking about our social justice work, and that it should be accessible to not only our congregation, but Glide's clients and the community at large. And that was a charge from Minister Marvin. So we took that upon ourselves to kind of break that down and build a strategy map, thinking about how we're going to achieve those goals, who the beneficiaries or the recipients are going to be, what are going to be our internal processes, and then also how do we nurture the folks who we're reaching out to. So as part of that work, we've created our SMART goals, and I'm going to stop the share on this, and we're going to go into I lost the goals, y'all. I tell you, I'm not on my point. Oh, that's not it.
You mean the Google Doc? Paula?
Yeah.
Here you go. I have it open here. There you go.
Okay. So can you type then?
Can I type?
Yes, into the doc.
Are
Are you sharing it?
Yeah, I just gave it.
You
Can I
put the-
type into it?
No.
Yes.
No. I thank you for sharing that. It's in the chat for anybody who wants to open it up and work on it. Okay, so now let me share. It only took 1 week to get rusty. I am so ashamed.
Don't be. Do not be. I was like, I forgot to make a calendar invite. I'm like, what's going on?
It only took a week. So these are
I think
some
that's
of
a
the-
good sign, frankly. It means you're still a human.
It means I rested as well. So these are some of the things that we built out. So thinking about what the initiative is, and then thinking about what programs we could come up with that we might try to initiate. And these are just brainstorms. We haven't whittled this down into definites, but you can go through the doc and see some of the ideas that have been put there. And then thinking about how we want to parse out our time throughout the year to make sure that we can accomplish this, and also who all needs to be included to support the initiative beyond the racial justice group. So as you can see, we have quite a bit in the Black Trans Lives Matter. Black women, we have only one initiative, so we can come back to that, I'm sure. We had quite a bit of ideas around the food security. Some of them are well, most of them are very community oriented. And then on the reparations, we have a couple of things that have already been entered. And then the last two that we have absolutely nothing on are the voter suppression and the police prison reform. So the thought is today, if we could populate this with a couple of ideas of what we could be doing around voter suppression and police prison reform. And with the voter suppression, I'm hoping that maybe Bivett can help us a little bit more once she joins the call. So, ideas. What kinds of initiatives could we be doing around these things?
It's something that I did that I really liked. It was writing postcards for in the support of specifically Black-led, and I mean a lot of Stacey Abrams's groups, for example. So whatever, and it was something we could do at home. It was incredible. Just there are postcard, there are smaller groups in San Francisco that this is what they do. So it felt very, very satisfying.
Do you have the names of those groups?
Rise, RUTA is one of them, which stands for
Rise Up, Take Action?
I think so.
And hey, Tatiana, do you mean that's like a local focus, or is it all out of California?
It's national. Just partner up, so but then get Glide to do it. You know, like we all as a Glide group. I mean, this it worked. They would actually get my local group meets at a pub, so you know, you can write postcards and have a glass of beer, and then so that's orientation. It just depends.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice?
I know. That's why. But we did it at home too.
If I may pipe in, there are two women's organizations. I think I mentioned last time, She the People, and then there's another one called Moms Rising. So I don't know if we could weave those into our Black Trans, but we could do a little research and see. Certainly for She the People.
She the People is awesome. That was a great suggestion, Linda.
Yeah.
And what do they do with the Black Trans?
Well, I'm just saying, you know, there may be some crossover there from voter suppression to the Black Trans. You know, She the People certainly has transgender women in it. You know, women of color. I don't know about Moms Rising, but could try to find out. So anyway, that's just a.
Okay. I'm just going to put a comment in here then.
And then I think, isn't the census the way that, you know, that they redistrict, and that's kind of a big one, to take on. But it would be interesting to learn more about how that's going, and if there's any way to. I know one of the things that I know a couple of people have done. Unfortunately, they're not people I know really well, but have helped with the census, because making sure that everybody gets counted, especially people of color, makes a difference in how the districts are formed, and then obviously how the voting goes.
Another local group, Zoe did a bunch of work for them, graphics and such. It's called Commit to Flip Blue. They're just more generally, they did writing campaigns too. We may have more than enough vehicles, but they're a Bay Area based organization.
And what would we be doing with them?
Same thing. I mean, they did like phone banking, writing, postcard writing, raising money. So it's another vehicle. I mean, I think personally we just figure out when we like and do it, but just throwing it out there.
Okay. And who would we need to check in for the census? Do we have an organization, or do we need to research that?
I'm not sure, but it's, helping with the census is something that, regular garden variety citizens can easily do. So I don't know.
Where does that stand now? I just
thought it
heard
was
yesterday.
done.
Yeah, it is. The census itself is done. They didn't get the reports done by the 31st. So they're saying that's not going to happen till after the inauguration. But yeah, that's the process they're in now, is reporting that material and then putting out what Linda was talking about. What are the demarcation points post information? And I have no idea how you plug into that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, whether or not there's, forgive me, I didn't realize the census was completed. But I wonder if it's too late to be able to inform that. In other words, once it's done, is there anything that we as citizens can do that would make a difference?
I don't think till the next 10 years.
I know there's going to be probably a lot of back and forth, because there was some opposition to the way that it was closed out and rushed because of the pandemic. So I'm wondering if the Biden-Harris administration might open that back up for investigation or review.
I wouldn't be surprised, like if ACLU or something, like legal challenges come, but I don't know if there's citizenry opportunities there.
There was, the Supreme Court ruled temporarily that the Trump administration could not exclude undocumented. But what happens after that, I don't know. So again, I think with the Biden administration, if they have any ability for positive change around, the direction Trump wanted it to go.
Well, that was what I heard yesterday, was that because they didn't meet the deadline of the 31st that Trump had put down on them, that it wasn't going to get in until after the inauguration. And the speculation on this from this person I was listening to was that the whole undocumented issue would fall flat, because that was a Trump thing and he wasn't. So that's an upside, but like Winnie said, I don't know what we have to put into that.
Okay, Bivett is here and she's getting set up, I guess. Great. So then we have a few things under the voter suppression, and where are we now with police and prison reform? Has anybody heard anything new?
I'm sorry, can I throw one more question into the voter suppression? I think a lot of times we tend to think away from the Bay Area, away from California around this issue. So, and maybe that's appropriate, but I just wonder, are there things that we can be doing to increase voter turnout locally too? is that a worthwhile effort? I don't know. I'm just want to throw the question there for consideration. Not to answer now, just to
Okay.
note.
I had a thought. I maybe it was at in fellowship on a Sunday that Laurie Mom talked about how they were going out and registering homeless to vote. They were helping people get registered to vote. So that's something that we could maybe, you know, put. I don't know if they need additional energy put to that. They may to get registering home unhoused voters.
Okay. And so we would need okay, and then is there anything else in the voter suppression? We can come back to that after we talk to Bivett as well. And then for the police reform.
One thing I was thinking is that, you know, a couple months ago, I did that digging around and seeing what you could get into, and you can find all of the police commission video of the meetings and the written agenda, and you can even highlight a portion on the agenda and go to that portion of the video. I mean, it's an amazing system. Same with the board of supervisors. And some of that is obviously police related. My overwhelming sense when I was digging through all that was that there's just too much stuff. So if we had a way of targeting what we want to find out about, I'd be willing to dig through that stuff to find those points, but I haven't a clue what to be looking for.
Okay.
And there's like so much. It's not, you know, it's like standing to get a glass of water at Niagara Falls, you know. I mean, it's just huge.
That's a big offer. Yeah, thanks.
Well, let me jump in again. Sorry, I'm doing so much talking, but when we, you know, when I attended the defund SFPD now meeting, what they're trying to focus on, and I think that the J. Ellis Group in Austin, the same thing, and that is how do we lobby for allowing the public to be present for the police union negotiation process. I mean, that's you know, that's something to target, and it's you know, and it's big, and defund SFPD now is working on that, so maybe it's something that we can you know, join them on instead of trying to create our own you know, a brand new initiative. But that seems to be, you know, that gets to the heart of accountability, which is, I think, what, you know, nationwide we're looking for, is how do we get these police departments to be accountable for their actions.
Okay.
Thanks again for going to that, Linda. I remember that.
You're welcome. It was a hoot. These are some serious, radical young people, very committed.
We're so great.
Okay. All right, so we can finish filling that out a little bit later. Is there anything anybody wants to add to this before we take a break and go over to our guest speaker? All right, so Bivett, welcome. Is she still here?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I feel deeply honored to even be included in this meeting. Sounds like you guys are doing a lot of hard, awesome work.
Yes, we have been working on our 20 2021 initiatives for the upcoming year and brainstorming about our strategic plan. So when I got the email from you, which I can no longer find now, did you send it via email?
I might have sent it via text,
Oh,
probably.
all
So
right.
sorry.
Well, I got it, and I was just like, this is exactly what we need right now, because when we think about elections, we think about like the big major ones, and then to get the one where you were saying that you were going to be phone banking, we actually just made an initiative that's some of the work that we want to do as a group. So if you could tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and what the initiatives are.
Before I go into who I am, I was wondering if I can just give you guys one commentary on your discussion around voter suppression. There is a huge movement in California around voter suppression around formerly incarcerated persons. And as you guys know, we just recently had voted to allow people who were still on probation or parole to be able to vote now. But I did notice when I was doing voter outreach earlier this year, and when I did a big get out the vote kind of event in Bayview back in February, there were a lot of formerly incarcerated people that didn't know that even after they get off parole, they were already eligible to vote. And so I think it's just being able to make sure that our formerly incarcerated persons become full citizens again, and them to know that this is a way for them to exercise their civic rights, and that they feel like all of their civil rights are restored, because voting is a civil right.
That is so true.
So just wanted to put that on your, if you guys were interested in that. And also, if you guys want to do something around that, is probably, I was thinking there could be further legislation that would streamline that process, so that when people are automatically released from prison, that they would be able to automatically be registered to vote. So an automatic registration. We know that when people are released from prison, most likely a lot of times they're still on parole or probation. They have a probation officer who already has their address and all of that. So pretty much while they're signing papers that say that they have to meet with the parole officer, they can also be signing, their voter registration card at the same time, and everything's processed. So they don't have to wait to get a physical ID to be able to vote and do all that stuff. They're automatically re-registered, and their rights are restored in that sense.
That is such a great idea.
I was going to ask if it was
Woohoo.
an action item, or the kind of thing that just needed more greater awareness in the community, but it sounds like it's kind of both.
It's both, because as you know, most people who are formerly incarcerated, when they first get out, they don't have money. They barely have money for housing, and they meet their needs. The last thing they're going to do is spend their time and energy to, go get an ID, go get this voter registration card, and then register to vote. And so I think if there's like this more process where, I think it's also a self-esteem thing too. If you're going to meet your parole officer, you get out of jail and someone says, now all of your rights have been restored to you. Could you imagine the psychological impact that has on a person? Like they're not going to be seen as a second-hand citizen. They're not, they can exercise all these rights. And, if you've noticed, a lot of people who are formerly incarcerated, they end up working in social services to kind of right the wrongs that put them in prison in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Were you in that room with Felicia this past Saturday?
No.
Okay. There was a conversation between Henry Louis Gates, Felicia Horowitz, I'm speaking of, that goes to Glide. She does this program called Saturday Dinner. And there was a conversation with T.D. Jakes and Henry Louis Gates talking about this very thing, which is why I thought maybe you were in there.
I did pop in, but not this thing. I didn't hear them talking about this. I saw them and they were talking. I think at the time T.D. Jakes was giving a sermon, and I logged out because someone else pinged me in another room.
And
so I missed this whole convo.
Most of the sermon was about the incarcerated, because he has a whole prison ministry that he does. So it was very interesting to hear the many ways in which they are going outside of the political lobby and going straight to corporation to get what they need done. So that was an insightful thing as well.
And then speaking on the prison thing, going into prisons, one of the things that also came up during this past election cycle is there's a lot of people who are sitting in county prisons who have not been charged with a crime. They have not been convicted of a crime. I mean, they've been charged with a crime, but they haven't been convicted of a crime. They are still eligible to vote. And they were denied the ability to vote. So that may be another piece where you guys might be able to take up, is like a prison ministry. I know that a lot of faith-based organizations already have prison ministry and they go to the prisons regularly. Maybe another thing they can do is while they're going to the prisons, they can reach out to the persons that are being locked up or held, you know, because they can't make bail or whatever, not, and ensuring that they're registered to vote and that they are able to get their vote by mail ballots as well.
Great. I've added all of that to the list and we'll continue to build it out as far as what's needed, because I don't know what is actually needed for that. So we'll have to research that.
I feel like those are two kind of low hanging fruits, since a lot of times clergy already has access to prison services and inmates, and maybe they can even do some kind of, you know, general nonpartisan voter education where you can still vote. This is what you do, you know. You can still exercise your rights. You haven't been convicted of a crime. I mean, yeah.
That is something that we've also done in the past. Okay. So Bivett, we have about, question for you. Do you have a hard stop at 6?
No.
Okay, because there might be a few questions to come your way. But now that
Okay.
you've given us all
So
of that
now I'll go into
juicy
my
information,
intro.
who are you, woman? Who are you?
Well, that's who I am. I'm the information guru. No, just joking.
No, you are, really, you
Sorry,
are.
I don't have my video on. Sorry, I don't have my video on, you guys. I have a little sty on my eye and I don't want to have to be squinting in the camera. But my name is Bivett Bracket. I'm a native San Franciscan. I'm Afro-Latina, and I grew up in the Fillmore district as well as the Mission district. And then I later raised my children in the Bayview district. And then now I live in Portola, and I'm a grandmother now. So I know my photo makes me look really young, but you know, I am.
I always forget
grandma-ish
about that.
age.
You look great.
Yeah. Thank you. I have a
Commissioner Bracket, you know you do not.
Oh, hey, how are
Hey,
you?
George.
It's George Bridges, and
Hey,
she
George.
does not look her age.
I didn't know I would have friends, even more friends on this call. Hi, George.
Good to have you here. Thank you for being here with us.
So George also busted me out. I really don't like to put like titles. I'm more of a person who's like very community. I've always been very rooted in community. I like to a lot of times be behind the scenes, but I do serve in various capacities on boards and commissions. I am a commissioner on the Office of Commission on Investment, Community Investment and Infrastructure, which is OCII, which is the Old Redevelopment Agency. I'm also a board member with Bayer Legal Aid, as well as SF Pride. I am the co-chair for community outreach and engagement for Pride, for SF Pride, for 50+1 and for the next 3 years. So I'll definitely want to tap in with Glide and the community to also see how we can partner in the future. I'm also a board member on Zacco Dance, which is one of the oldest African-American led aerial dance companies in San Francisco. They've been in existence almost 40 years.
Wow.
And me and Paula met each other because we were former members of MOAD's Vanguard Board, which is the Museum of African Diaspora. And I'm also currently a co-founder of SF Black Wall Street. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard about them, but it's kind of was created this past year during the pandemic. We organized the San Francisco Juneteenth that happened at Gilman Park and the Bayview, and there was actually a citywide parade with old school cars to kind of celebrate the African American community, which had been taking a lot of hits due to, BLM, George Floyd and stuff like that. So we kind of started working together, just totally from a Facebook post, decided we were going to organize and feed the people. And it turned into a big Juneteenth festival. And from that, we started organizing around spatial justice, small businesses, and neighborhood issues. All of those things arose during COVID due to the disparities and the disadvantages that primarily Black businesses, and especially in the Bayview district, faced. As you guys know, the shared space program doesn't necessarily work for every community, especially in communities where they don't have a thriving commercial corridor.
And that's being called spatial justice?
That's what we call it.
Okay, that's interesting.
So basically, we're reclaiming spaces that were previously BIPOC and finding ways to work with the neighbors so that people who move here, it's not just about gentrification, but it's about mixing cultures and respecting neighborhood culture as well. And how do we do that in a more progressive manner and in a more collaborative way? And so through that, we are working on right now a good neighbor policy with the city and county and OEWD that we want to put out probably the following year. So there was a lot of 311 calls against small businesses that were racially targeted, not just in the Bayview, in Soma and the Mission. There was actually a physical attack on some of the Filipino artists in Soma. So through all of these kind of issues and tragedies and uncomfortable violence that was kind of thrown on communities of color in the midst of a pandemic, we're still trying to find positive solutions to move the city forward. So that's a little bit about me. And I guess within all of that, it all goes back to probably the biggest tenet that have always pushed for, and that's for representation and for communities, marginalized communities, to have their own voice, not necessarily other people speaking for them, but for them to be uplifted in a way that they can create solutions for their own communities. Because what we've seen in the last 40 years is, and probably in the last 100 years, is that when people outside of a community design solutions, they don't always work because it's not necessarily nuanced and attached to lived experiences of those community members. And so I reached out to Paula and invited her to my phone bank this upcoming Sunday, because I also understood that our political process in San Francisco, while it's lovely that we're all Democrats, it's also become very polarized. And because it's also been polarized, it's also been disenfranchising for specifically Black candidates and people who wish to give back to their community. And I organized with about 10 other African-American candidates who are currently running for the California to represent the city in both Assembly District 17 and 19 and for the California Democratic Party. And with that is kind of what I was talking with Paula about. Most people in San Francisco, we have the highest concentration of Democrats in our city, in the state of California, yet less than 1% of them know about the ADEM elections that are coming up at the end of this month on January 27th. And even less people than that know that they have to register to vote by January 11th in order to be able to receive a vote by mail ballot in order to vote in this election. And so I'm having a phone banking this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday before the deadline to kind of call San Franciscans who are registered Democrats and let them know, hey, it only takes 1 minute to register and you'll get your ballot in the mail, and walk them through kind of the process of getting that confirmation number that they're going to have to later put on their ballot when they receive it, and how to find out about the candidates, because that was another issue. A lot of people have, I've talked to them about the election and they Google and they're like, I can't find what you're talking about. And then I have to give them the exact website address, and then they find it. They're like, oh my gosh, I never knew this existed. And it's a very important piece of our democracy because, as you guys all know, San Francisco kind of leads the way in terms of not only California state politics, but also on the national scale. And if we don't get more people rooted in community in those seats, we're less likely to have progressive legislation that will actually serve the interests of those communities that we're trying to help. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded, but.
And when does that happen?
So on Saturday and Sunday, from 12 to 4, I'm doing a virtual phone bank. And I have a Facebook event link, but I can also send you guys the Google link as well. If you'd like to sign up, there is information inside the Google link. Let me just pull that up and share it in the chat.
I
Give me
had
one
no idea
second.
there was an election January 27th.
Yes.
I think the only way that I found out is I volunteered during the previous election to work at the California convention for Democrats. And that was the reason I think I get the emails. And then I was shocked when we had this process happen before, because it was raining. And I went out because I found out that there was an election and Bivett was running for something. And then also John Weber was also there, who is another Glide friend. And there were very few people that were out for that. And it changes so much. I mean, just in part of who actually gets to go down and speak on our behalf if we are registered as California Democrats, and to lobby on our behalf. And so that it's really interesting that we don't know very much about it. And then also, as far as the candidates, they're pretty unknown, because by the time you do find out about it, you haven't had time to research them.
Is it just in California or San Francisco?
It's the California Democratic Party. Is that right, Bivett?
Yes, it's the California Democratic Party. So every 2 years, the California Democratic Party chooses a third of its delegates through this process. So this is called the ADEM process. So every 2 years, we vote for our delegates that go to state convention on our behalf, and they vote over everything from endorsing statewide candidates to endorsing platform issues, resolutions, ballot measures, and like the whole gamut. And so these are actually your state representatives that you're voting for. And this is in the past.
They're regional, right? They're regional elections.
Yeah, so it's based on your assembly district. So in San Francisco, we're split between assembly district 17 and 19. So there's 80 assembly districts throughout the state of California. So each assembly district can vote up to 7 self-identified females and other than self-identified females, 7 other than, so 14 per district. But
And you have to register in order to vote?
Yes. So this year, because it's online, because of shelter in place, there's not going to be any in-person voting. And so everyone has to register online to vote. I'm going to grab the link for you guys right now and send it to you.
So if you're already registered to vote, that doesn't count. You have to re-register?
It does not count. Yes, you have to register because it's a special election.
It's not a register to vote thing, right? You have to register to vote in this Democratic Party election. Right?
Exactly. So that's also been the challenge for me, because I thought that what they would do is, since they already have the records of everyone who were Democrats, they could have just sent ballots to every single Democrat. But I think what they're trying to do is they're like, okay, we as the party, we might not have the money to send millions of ballots throughout the state. So we'll force everyone to apply for it. So we only will send ballots based on what people need, which is still kind of, like you said, voter suppression and disenfranchisement, because most people don't even know the election is happening.
Yeah. Pretty anti-democratic.
And
I
also
worked one
the
of these
process.
years ago, and because a friend of mine was running, and I was just shocked by the fact that I didn't know about it, and 2, when I got there to one of these in-person events, there were so few people. And it strikes me that an organizing thing like this, it's one of those things where it works in our favor. If we're organizing, we're the majority there.
Exactly. So it's a very closed door process, and it's been something that I've been trying to bring highlight to for the past 6 years. So as Paula said, 6 years ago, I ran because I was just pissed because I was fed up with the system. I'm like, every year I make recommendations on how to make it better and talk to people. And it seems like people like it being a closed process because then they can control who gets voted in and who doesn't. And for me, I feel like that's very harmful. And this is what leads to people feeling like they're not represented. And when people say, you know, when we talk about the DNC or the larger party, when people are like, oh, how do people become delegates? People are like, how did they get to go to convention? I mean, who are these people? You know, they don't even know that they had an
Right.
opportunity to vote for those people or to actually be that person. And so I just think that it leads into kind of like, I'll just be honest, I've been very upset with even our local DCCC because they have a lot of control over getting this information out and they just don't. And I feel like people are more concentrated on this whole individual power struggle that's happening again between, you know, different factions of our party than they really are about making the processes democratic and really, you know, making the blue tent bigger, like our mantra is.
So what is the DCCC?
That's the other third of the delegates. So that was the position that I ran for this year in March. And that was even crazy because for the first time, all of the elected officials ran for that. So basically, most of the delegate positions on DCCC and ADEM are supposed to go to like community representatives or people that are like your neighbors. This year, because of the power of endorsements, all of the elected officials ran for those positions and won because they have name recognition. And most people don't know about that election either. That happens every 4 years. So then it allows them to just endorse themselves when they run for office. So it allows them to then use the power of having the Democratic Party label that they were endorsed by the Democratic Party.
You have the link that we can sign up?
Yeah, I'm grabbing it right now. Here we go.
Oh, thank you.
It's just I was having issues trying to copy and paste it from my phone. Sorry.
And there is a similar process for the Republican and independent parties? Do you know?
Yes. So all the different parties have the same process. Every year they pick they pick their ADEM. Every 2 years they pick their ADEMs. Every 4 years they pick their DCCC members. So DCCCs usually that election usually falls on the primary election of a presidential year. And then the ADEM elections happen every 2 years, pretty much right after the 4-year election. So November would be the presidential election, and then that following January is usually an ADEM. And then, you know, the midterm kind of elections in 2 years is when the next ADEM comes around. So it's the 4-year cycle and the midterm cycle that we elect ADEMs.
Thank you.
And so how that kind of, I'm wondering if I have a visual for that I can kind of show you guys. Let me see. I think because I was creating a PowerPoint with a friend of mine to kind of illuminate what this looks like so that people can visually see what these delegates mean and how powerful they are in terms of shaping California's policies. Give me 1 second. See if I can find it. Okay. I'm gonna try and pull up my Google Slides if that works. Ah. See if it opens. Apologies. Switch account. Okay. Yay, I think I found it. I'm just gonna try and find, yeah. I'll try and find this. And then Paula, do you think you can give me screen share
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
capabilities? I'm gonna try and screenshot this and then, okay.
Hold on 1 second. I'm almost there. Oh, hold on. I don't have that capability.
Oh, there it
Perry, are
goes.
you there?
It does let me. It does let
It
me
does,
already.
okay.
It
All right.
shows me that I have it. Yeah. Do you see it on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So if you kind of scroll in, this is the Democratic Party structure. So at the very top of the Democratic Party is the National Committee, the DNC. So that's our national. And then right below that is all the state parties. So I didn't put all 50 across because we're just focusing on California. The California Democratic Party is right below the DNC. And then within the California Democratic Party, we're broken up into 3 groups of delegates. And the delegates are basically considered to be called the Democratic State Central Committee, or the DSCC. So if you look to the side, the county committee delegates, or DCCC, they're usually called the DCCC. So Democratic County Central Committees. Those are the delegates that you would elect every 4 years. That's the one on the far left. The one in the middle are elected officials. So statewide elected officials are automatically get delegate privileges because they're elected. So like the Scott Wieners, Malia Cohen, Assembly Member Ting, Assembly Member Chu, Dianne Feinstein, the senators and so forth, they all, Eleni Kolonakis, they all receive a delegate vote. And then the assembly district delegates, which is in the orange, that's what this election is right now. So if you see, it pretty much represents a third of the decision-making power for the California Democratic Party is what we're going to be electing in this January.
That demystifies a lot.
And also, once you elect those assembly district delegates, then you also, those delegates get to choose who is going to be our California Democratic Party chair. And our current chair is Rusty Hicks. And prior to him was Ed Bauman. And if you guys are familiar, or for those of you who are not familiar, Ed Bauman had to step down during his term because he had committed sexual harassment issues were going on throughout the party. And they found out that there was a lot of misogyny at the top of the party and stuff like that. And for those of you guys who know Kimberly Ellis, this was the position that she ran for and lost by a slim margin, was California Democratic Party chair. So that just kind of gives kind of history on why these elections, both the DCCC, which happened this past March, and even right now, the Assembly District, are so important because we really shape the party, and we also endorse who will be the next elected officials moving forward. So when you see
Wow.
an endorsement that says they've been endorsed by the California Democratic Party, well, it's your local assembly district delegates that are voting for that endorsement.
Bivett, are you taking, or Paula, I apologize, are questions now or at the end? Should we save it up?
You can do questions now. I mean, because this is a good segue for questions.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So is there any more you can tell us? I mean, I heard what you said in the beginning about really wanting local community development and representatives that will represent the community. Oh, and I'm trying to figure out the nice way to say this. What kind of information can you give us about the pushback you're getting on making the more making things open? Is it an area? Is it, I mean, is it just like I'm jokingly going to say white people in a certain area, but true. I mean, I don't know if there's more things you can tell.
I
And
think
the-
it's I
I'm
think it's both.
Oh.
It's I'll say it's a combination of things. There is structural racism and anti-blackness at play that happens in these processes, because the other thing is that a lot of times these delegates, on slates. So if you guys have been seeing online, people have been maybe posting slates. A lot of times these slates are done in private. They're handpicked people that they decide that they want to run. And when you're in a slate, you're pretty much in a political machine that has all the resources to reach out to voters and do all that stuff. And it almost builds it like it's its own campaign.
Right.
Whereas in other districts, they don't do it like a machine. They literally do it more, grassroots, where you are running against your neighbor. You're not running against a machine of, maybe an elected official or very huge political club that's backing you, and they have money and they have resources, and they have 100 volunteers who can share your thing on social media or get people to turn out votes for you.
Right.
Other assembly districts, it's not machine politics. It's very much more decentralized and more a participatory democracy. It's still not as widely known about, but at least it's not the way it is in San Francisco. San
Right.
Francisco has turned into like an entire machine where it's almost driving up the prices of campaigns to where people literally are starting now to have to raise money to run for these positions.
No, yeah, I felt that happen in the queer community. I could feel those things getting developed. I understand what you mean now by the machine of it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and because people don't want it to go up into like a lot of money, then they create the machine around human capital.
Yep.
And which is also kind of unfortunate, because campaigns take money, campaigns take physical labor, and it's often the most marginalized people who are asked to give up their body and time for free in hopes that an elected official or someone high up in a political campaign or on a club will see them and provide them with maybe an income opportunity or a job opportunity later on down the line. So in some ways it's very oppressive. I don't know another word I can use, or manipulative. And oftentimes people of color get pitted against each other because they get, especially within the Black community, it's kind of like we can only put one Black man, one Black woman on the slate. That's your representative. And who cares if there's someone who's, was more qualified, or someone who, had more of a pulse on the community. It's at that point, it's not about that. It's about, I'm getting my people elected versus your people elected.
Yeah.
Okay. As we're doing this, I'm thinking about how can we get this out to our community by tomorrow, so that they have access to this information. Because the deadline is January 11th. Is that correct?
Yes, I can give you the link to register to vote as well. It's just www.adamenelections.com. So this is the link to
It's on the
register
bottom
to
of what you
vote.
gave.
Yeah, it's in that
It's on the
document.
bottom of what you gave us.
Volunteer. Yeah, but if you don't want to volunteer, you can also I put it in the chat as well. So anyone can register to vote. There's also a phone number that they can call in if they don't have access to a smartphone or a computer. Let me see if I can grab that phone number real quick. Because I have a whole PowerPoint presentation. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
I'm trying to go through it. I'm actually going to be doing a full presentation this Thursday about all of this with some of the candidates that are running. So if anyone wants to attend that Zoom, I think it's on the SF Black Wall Street page. I don't know the Zoom link. I'd have to go on there and find it. Let me see. Let me see, what's the phone number for this? I thought we put the phone number on there. So I see one more edit that needs to be made. The phone number needs to be put on here. Yeah, there's a phone number piece. Yeah, it's not there. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to one of my other notes, but let me turn my screen sharing off. Eee.
You said it's going to be on
I don't know
Thursday?
the protocols to this. There are people here who do. Is it possible for us to make a note of this actually in Celebration on the scroll on the slide on?
I can check with Reggie about that. Reggie
Yeah, I
or-
can probably even share. I can probably even share the PowerPoint that we use tomorrow night with you guys once I get it finalized. So I can send that over to Paula, and you guys can use that. The slideshow that we have is more geared towards the African American community because that's been a big challenge this past year, as you guys know, with all of the Russian bots and also misinformation campaign through the presidential election the last 4 years. There's been a real targeted effort to dissuade Black people from going to the polls and telling them that their vote doesn't count, they shouldn't participate, that the Democratic Party doesn't care about them, and blase, blase. So that's kind of why we're doing this workshop with the Black community to let people know, A, they didn't even know about the election, but B, this is how you get into government. These are the positions that you want your people in when you're looking to possibly push Black agenda items or things that impact your community the most. You want delegates who can take those issues up to the, state party and then take that up to the national party. But if you don't even know who those people are or how they got elected,
Okay.
I have a couple of questions and maybe a comment too. I'm wondering if we can use the structure that was set up for glide votes for the big election to get the word out about this. I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. And then a question for Bivett. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, it's Bivett.
Bivett. So is this going on like elsewhere in the Bay Area, like Oakland, Berkeley?
Yes. Throughout the state, all of the districts, all 80 districts are actually voting for their new Democratic ADEM representatives. So Oakland is, I think, split between Assembly District 18 and I think 15 or something like that. No, 15 is Richmond and Hercules and El Cerrito. Oakland's 18, and I can't remember the other number that's Oakland. I want to say 20 or 18, but yeah. So they're based on your assembly district rep.
Okay, and it's the same kind of obstacles, the same kind of machine
Exactly.
rating, yeah.
Yeah. And so what you see is if you actually were to go online to the website, I'll put on the website as well in the chat for the party. You can actually go and see who's running for your assembly district. There's an area for candidates. And if you go in that candidates area, there's a candidate stories or their statements, candidate statements. So candidates were able to write a statement that reflected why they were running. And even that's kind of like weird and biased because they don't really give you direction on how to write your statement or how to communicate to people like what you're really supporting. So people tend to write the same things over and over. I support, Medicare for all, or I support, a green bill, or I support, there'll be like kind of general things. Whereas one of the things that I really was playing up in terms of for the People's Delegate slate, which is a slate of African-American natives or people who have lived in the city for a long time, they're really focused on the local issues, the really granular issues that need to be taken up to the state party. So there's a lot of people who think, this is kind of like, oh, yay, I get to be part of the Democratic Party and I get to be this prestigious delegate. And I just get to be there for the photo ops and participate in the convention. Not saying that everyone's doing that, but there's a large dynamic of people who that's what they run for these titles for. And then there's people who actually, run because they really want to put forth resolutions and stuff like that. So.
That how many total did you say? I didn't catch it in the group for all of California.
Oh, there's 80 districts, assembly districts, and there's 14 for each assembly district.
A lot of people. And just out of
Yes.
curiosity,
Hey,
how
Bivette,
if you
Bivette, this is-
I was how many think how many would love to go to a dinner party and talk about this, what you're talking about together? Like, what's the ratio?
What's the ratio of what? Well, this year they have about 100. So between San Francisco, the 17 and 19 district, there's 100 people running for these 14 seats on each side.
Huh. Wow.
That's the massive number of people. This is like the most number of delegates to run in San Francisco election ever.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. And crazy.
Which is a good thing. I pushed for a lot of people to run this year that never ran before. So, and I did that because that's what we need. We need more civic participation. We need more people engaged, and we need more people who actually want to make a difference.
Well, clearly it worked.
And how many seats are actually up for grabs?
In San Francisco in total is 28. So it's 14 on the 80-17 side and 14 on the 80-19 side. But remember, they're split by gender as well. So on the 80-17 side, which is David Chu's district, which is the east side of the city, you can only vote for 7 women, 7 men. It's a top vote getters for the 7 women, 7 men. And same thing on the, or other than female identified candidates, sorry, because there's various different genders as well. And then on the west side, which is Phil Ting's Assembly District 19, there's 14 people you can vote for as well. So 7 self-identified female and 7 other than self-identified female candidates.
Well, this has certainly been a lesson. Thank you, Bivette. I was not quite expecting all of this, and it is much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions for Bivette before we bring this to a close?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done and you're doing, and that's doing so great. And it's super inspiring. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and me. I'm very honored to hear it. And I'm excited in a way that usually means like danger.
No, I mean, I'm just honored to be here to talk to you guys and to be able to share, because there's just so many. I just feel like San Francisco is one of these places where we have so many amazing people, so much talent, and we're not even tapping into an iota of the talent. And if we did start tapping into kind of more diverse, a larger breadth of people in the city, we can come up with a lot of solutions that would solve a lot of the problems that we're seeing in our city, specifically around income inequities, structural racism, as well as just discrimination based on gender and everything else. So, but we have to get, more people involved in the process and knowledgeable about what's actually going on. You can't fix a problem if you don't know what's going on and you don't know where are the power levels to push and pull and to get your assembly member to, look at this, issue that you're having. Like earlier today, I was talking with Aria Saeed, who's the director of the new transgender culture district. And she was also mentioning, she had talked to Scott Wiener one time about, just the extreme amount of scrutiny and criminalization that sex workers were under, and how he championed that and put the bill on the Senate, and it actually passed. And so that's actually, bringing some relief. And so it's like, those are the stories that we need to hear, where people from the grassroots can communicate with their elected officials to get things done to improve the daily lives of San Franciscans.
Well, you have a gift for explaining complicated things.
The flow chart helped a little, I hope.
Well, yeah.
It helped a lot, for sure. Because I was like,
I
DCC,
just think the
Triple
whole
C.
presentation was incredibly poignant and timely. We just finished going through that list of stuff. And the whole voter suppression part seemed like, okay, that horse has left the barn for the time being. Maybe not so much.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've been kind of posting on Facebook, letting people know that, everyone's cheering Georgia, but people are not cheering for California. And we have our own big election this month. So as much as we can share on social media and let people know, please register to vote, participate, and like there's going to be various different forums over the next couple of weeks that'll, I'm doing a bunch of different forums with SF Black Wall Street and both sides of the conversation and other organizations as much as possible. And I'd love to do one with Glide if you guys would like to do one that may be about, how to complete your ballot accurately and submit it back in. Because the other challenge of it that I didn't mention, which is going to cause voter suppression, is that this year ballots have to be received by January 27th, not postmarked. So there's a very short window between when people will receive their ballots and will be able to submit them back in to be able to get to Sacramento in time. And because we are already having issues with our US Post Office because of the Trump administration, I could see a lot of ballots not making it there by the January 27th deadline, and those ballots will not count. And so I'm currently looking for somewhere that could be a drop-off location for ballots, possibly between the dates of January 19th through the 26th or the morning of the 27th, so that I can just grab all the ballots and drive them up to Sacramento myself, other than them getting locked in the mail. But I haven't been able to identify kind of a central location where people could just drop their ballots off.
That would be great.
Wow, what dedication. You're going to drive the ballots there yourself. That's amazing.
Hey,
I mean, express.
All of the candidates want to do it too, because they're like, we can't lose our votes. Like, so
yeah.
Are there any?
I think I'm going to get a lot of help in driving them there.
Are there any complications with the chain of command or the chain of custody going from the voter to your car to the Sacramento?
No, because the ballots are all sealed. And there's nothing, it's not like we can open them anyways. They would know if someone opened the ballots. So once they're sealed and they go to Sacramento, it doesn't matter as long as they receive them. Like I said, the issue is that this year it's complicated because people are going to have to keep that voter registration number that they get when they first register to vote, so that they can put that on their ballot when they receive their ballot in the mail. So we're also asking people to, when they register to vote, to screenshot their ballot and send it to us, so that if they have lost it or misplaced it, we can tell them, remind them what their confirmation code number is that they need to put on their ballot. So it's a really tricky process this year.
And then what type of location are you looking for?
Anywhere where it could possibly be a box where people can just drop off, and, like a locked box or something like that, where it doesn't have to be anything like grandiose, but just, I don't know, just something that's a box where people can just drop in. Like, people can't put their hand to pull out, but they can just drop their ballots and go. So if there was a location where they can drop their ballots, that would be helpful. I was reaching out to some of the other churches. I had someone reaching out to some of the other churches and seeing if maybe churches can be kind of a drop space, but I don't know about that either, because I don't want to inundate the churches with additional mail that they don't want to deal with, But because of everything's closed due to COVID, there's not very many places. I mean, I guess we could probably collect them at the COVID testing sites, but then that also poses a challenge because that's bringing more people to the COVID testing sites, and I don't want to do that either.
Wow.
I wonder if I wonder if it could be at Glide. I mean, I do not get to make that kind of decision, but I wonder if there's a spot at Glide. And one other thing I'm thinking of is that it could be really amazing to arrange some kind of Zoom event where, I mean, Bivett, if you want to be able to walk our community through the process of doing this correctly, I wonder if we could get something on, or, you know, for the church groups, we could create some kind of event.
Well, I was thinking about that, and the challenge becomes that we have 6 days. Well, actually 5, because tonight is gone. So 5 days really to get it going, or to get it on the calendar, to drum up support to attend, and then have everybody register. So there's a logistical, I mean, it's not unheard of that we could pull it off. However, as far as time, like we have on our list, how will we know that we were successful at that? And is that number 1 person attends? Is that number, 20 people attends? What makes it worth the time?
You know, also, does this happen annually? Because if it does, we could plan and have this
every
every 2 years.
I have every 2 years.
Yeah.
I think what you guys could do that might maybe be effective is if you wanted to do it on a Sunday evening. That way you have this whole week to promote, and you possibly could even mention it after Sunday service. And that way you get a critical mass of people to attend on a Sunday evening.
When? Sunday?
On a Zoom call. And they'd still have Sunday and Monday morning to register.
How many days away of that is that?
That's like 4 days, 5 days away, probably. 5 days away.
I can definitely set it up, Bivett, if you have the time on a Sunday, and we can see what happens. I mean, that benchmark is up to you of what is valuable as far as your time.
Yeah, I could do something. What do you guys think would be appropriate time for that? An hour or an hour and 30 minutes so they can have questions, or what do you think is appropriate? And what time would you like to do it on Sunday? Because I would be mainly leaning on you guys to reach out to the community, to your community, and like get the message out that it's there,
right?
That you're having that. I mean, I can definitely post it on my stuff too, but
this has taken us an hour tonight. So
yeah, but we didn't come in prepped, like
mm-hmm.
you had to wrangle us, and we are we were talking about it.
And Bivett, do you already have like a slide or a Facebook page that's already together that we could just repurpose?
Yeah, I do. I have all the graphics and stuff.
Right.
Okay. Well, why don't we take it offline? I'll follow up and send out all of the links and everything in our follow-up. And then also update the Facebook page, and folks can share from there, so we can start to at least use social media and then create an event. And I'll talk with Bivett offline and we can get that set up. But what's a good time on Sunday if we were to do it?
I can do it.
I'm pretty much open as long as it's after 4, because that's when the phone bank ends, is at 4. So I'm thinking anytime after 5.
Do phone bank and then this. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
No, that's not a problem at all. So how is 6 o'clock, and that'll give you some time to eat and refresh. So from 6 to 7, would that work?
Yeah, that's fine.
Then everybody else can put themselves on mute and eat their dinner and learn something.
Yeah, that's true.
We could call it Sunday supper with the Cal Democrats.
Oh, I love Sunday supper. Like, I created a new name through my Big Black Brunch brand. It's going to be called Dunch.
Oh, wow.
That time between dinner and lunch.
I like that.
Like an early dinner. Dunch.
All right. So we're doing this. We're signing on.
Yes.
Are there any who are opposed? All right. I guess we got some work to do this week. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bivett. Can we maybe schedule a talk tomorrow? I'm gonna get all of this stuff ready to go out tonight, and
And I'll put my email in the chat too, if anyone wants to reach out to me about anything else that I discussed, any of the other things that I'm working on or whatever.
Thank you.
And will it be? Let's see. And do you need me to set up the Zoom, or will you do that? Or
Yeah.
I will set it up.
I mean, I think you should set up the Zoom. That way it's already on, because my Zoom is going to require people to put their phone number and emails, and they may not feel comfortable doing that, versus if you're doing it from the Glide Zoom account, they might feel more comfortable, logging in or whatever they have to do
Got it.
to get into the Zoom. Are you using your personal Zoom right now, or are you using Glide Zoom?
This is Glide Zoom, but I usually use my personal Zoom because Perry has our tech office guru has to do this, and she has not signed up for said meeting, so it'll likely come from my own personal Zoom.
Okay. If you need me to open up my personal Zoom, I can too. I can do up to 500 people on my personal Zoom.
Okay. I don't know. I have an educator's account, so mine goes.
Oh, so you probably have a lot too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, let's do it.
Yay. I'm so thankful and grateful for you guys giving me space and time to talk about these passion projects and things that really are dear and near to my heart. So I just want to thank everyone here for contributing and all of the work that you guys are already doing in community, and just I'm just thankful.
Yes,
Well, thank you, because you connected some dots for us all around, not only voting, but community. So we appreciate you.
Thanks, George.
All right. Well, with that, it is 6:26, and so we will end this meeting, our first meeting of 2021. Actually, and I'm going to change my word from this from the one we used to motivated, because I feel very motivated now. I feel empowered. Power. All right, y'all. Well, we'll see you soon, because don't forget to sign up for the phone banking if you have time to do that. And then look for the information to come out, and then also be ready to mobilize your networks, whether that be email or Facebook or what have you, whatever social media connects you can do. We're going to need all the help we can get.
I feel like I want to just put a Zoom for like a group yell after Georgia. Just come and yell.
Did we win? Did we win?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't care.
No. It does matter.
I have cramps from writing those little postcards. I have cramps in my fingers.
No. It doesn't matter if we.
I hope we won.
Win or lose. We still have to scream. Winning matters.
Yeah.
Either way.
Well, you're gonna be screaming all week long because the crazy man's doing his thing.
Yeah.
But they are counting the early votes now as well in Georgia. So
well, that's good.
That's good. So we don't have to really wait for those to come in.
All right.
I'm super excited. I made a lot of phone calls over these past couple weeks to Georgia. So that's the other thing. They don't have to be from San Francisco to be part of our phone bank either. They can be from anywhere. And it might help people bring awareness to people on other parts of the city that they can also vote for their own assembly district representatives.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to listen to this all over again too, just so you know.
Yeah.
So, also be on the lookout for the recording. I'll try to get it up to the YouTube page as soon as possible.
I'm like, next time I will know what DCCC means.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make things easier on you guys by abbreviating, because otherwise, if I repeat it so many times, it's going to be like a tongue twister.
Oh, it totally did it.
Let me tell you. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and good luck and get some rest because we have our work cut out for us in the coming week.
Clearly.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, take
Bye.
care.
you.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
guys soon.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.